developed by the government, and the rents were controlled and very affordable. Because today, we are suffering the issue of rents going up again, so we haven't completely learned from last time round, even though we know that there are actually regulations in place, but not necessarily fully enforceable. So people of modest means may not be able to live here, may not be able to afford to live here anymore. And unless we have people of all social classes living and working together to build the country for the future, we can't really progress. So I'm just an advocate for having some more affordable accommodation, that people have a good quality of life, because we don't want to see what happened previously, that a number of people couldn't come and live here because there wasn't enough education for their children, or they send their children and their families back to their countries of origin. So we need to address all social stratas so that we can grow and prosper collectively.
Elaine, thank you very much. Maybe there'll be some questions on the affordable aspects, affordable housing, for example. That's something I'd be interested to hear views from the floor on as we go into the Q&A. Dawn, do you have a microphone? We do have a roving microphone. I wonder if I could ask you to follow on from Elaine, who spoke from a Dubai perspective. Dawn is very experienced in Bahrain and Qatar. So Dawn, welcome your thoughts.
Yes, I hope the microphone works. I've really been working with Q22, the Qatar World Cup, for the last 2 years, having been in the Middle East with Richard Cotton since 1982, and really worked through 3 big property cycles and directions here and 4 internationally. And the role I have for the Qatar World Cup is really focusing a bit like Abu Dhabi on the 2030s. So as the World Cup has been held in 2022, we are focusing very carefully on creating property assets which will have enduring values in the year 2022, which really means you've got to be having some certainty on revenue flows, flexibility of use going right the way through to the year 2030. So from a strategic point of view, in looking at sustainability, we're really looking at the cycles, what is affecting an emerging market or a more mature market, how significant changes in infrastructure can lead to shifts in values and shift in land use patterns. And really, Dubai, I would say now, is a situation where its infrastructure is more or less clear. There are quite a few countries across the Middle East where the infrastructure has been fundamentally redesigned, and that is leading to huge investments. In Qatar in particular, the World Cup, they have positioned the sites of the stadiums to be very close to centres of transport hubs, the metro, the rail, the road network, and that has immediately produced a shift in land values and a shift in occupational patterns. So rather than the specific issues of sort of the next 3 years, I think from a real sustainability point of view, we are now beginning to have like a 10-year horizon in our development pipeline. And from that, developers are really positioning their strategy on what product they will be selling, what product they will be retaining, and how those investment values will be supported.
Thank you very much. So development being more sustainable around transport hubs, and it's something which we're beginning to see in Dubai and Abu Dhabi as well. And again, welcome questions and discussion on that as we go on. I'd like to move to another end of the panel now. And Sophie Llewellyn, I wonder, as a director of Majid Al Futtaim Property, is one of the leading property developers and owners in the region. I'd be interested in your views on what makes a long-term sustainable market for you.
Thank you. I think one of the key things we go into when we look at development is the stakeholder partnership structure. Because we're all in it for a very long time, so we need to create a development which really has a long-term sustainable revenue stream and structure, and that's very important for business. We do that by working with the road and transport agencies, trying to get close to public transport systems, and really making those environments very user-friendly. And very hopefully profitable place to operate in. I think one of the challenges that we have is a little bit of transparency on primary data sources. When we're looking at new developments, we struggle a little bit with population statistics and land-wise transactions, and I think that we would be able to operate a lot faster if there was further transparency and consistency in that level of information. Another of the issues that we struggle with as a developer is this divorce of land price expectation, with it being a component part of the development process. It's a very speculative asset class on its own in this part of the world, and that makes it very challenging to stack up profitable, viable developments. I think the availability of professionals in the market and trained labour is critical for us because it underpins and de-risks the development process. And I think actually as we move from a development to an operational environment, we need to recognise the change in that skill set. I would applaud the Dubai government in terms of really trying to speed up and make the application process very, very simple, very straightforward. I think probably finally, one of the words that hasn't been mentioned here is trust. And I think that if we are going to operate an open, productive and transparent environment, the public must have trust in the people operating in it. And I think that's one of the other issues that's going to underpin market regulation.
Sophie, thank you very much indeed. I'd like now to ask Fergal to add something. Fergal Harris from Standard Chartered Bank, who are one of the most active international banks in the real estate markets here. So let's have a banker's perspective, Fergal.
Well, I'll try not to give a banker's perspective, clear the room. I look at, there's two questions that were being asked here. How to attract sustainable real estate investment, and what does a sustainable and attractive real estate market look like? And I guess that really depends on what you want. You can either want to be a mature market, or you can want to be an emerging market tending towards maturity. And if you look at the facets in a mature real estate market and what they are, and to echo what Sophie just said, I go back one step before the transparency conversation to making an informed and independent decision about values and the future, where the asset class is going and what's underpinning the future cash flows. So demographics, macroeconomic data specific to the market, and access to that and trust in that. So rather than sort of rock up to a market as an investor and get a valuation or get a report, I want to, and I would expect to, in a market like Singapore or Hong Kong or even London, be able to do some rudimentary analysis on that myself and come to an independent, informed decision and decide whether I like it or I don't like it. High volume of transactions and awareness of what those transactions were and why. That is obviously something that's more prevalent in the mature market, because as it matures, it just simply has a lot more stock. And the stock will have evolved past strata, and the locations of prime and secondary will become better known because the market has matured. And I think in that sense, Dubai has come a long way in the last 5 years. I think if you asked many of us here where we think the main centres are, we will know better now today than we said we did 5 years ago, or where they're going to be. And that's driven largely from the improvement that has taken place in infrastructure. A deep public market. If you look at instos or people from outside the market, whether they're leaving aside private equity for a moment, because they've got different reasons for investment. But if you look at institutions that are investing on behalf of the public, whether that's REITs or whether that's pension funds, the existence of a deep public market suggests that all those other things I just spoke about are in place, and they're implicitly trustworthy, and there is a high degree of confidence in those, in that information existing, or in that market depth. And that in turn then gives confidence to other people, and on and on and on it goes. It also gives you access to financing and capital, which is quite scrupulous, and it's quite discerning, rather than going to your local bank or a vested interest partner who may provide the capital, but that doesn't necessarily tell you anything about whether that was a good or bad investment. And if you look across the bond market, which we've been very active in over the last 4 years, very, very few bonds issued at very, very comparable international coupons to real estate investors and developers in this market. And that in itself, for me, as a banker at least, just wearing my banking cap for a minute, will tell me something about where the world sees an emerging market, like a Dubai or an Abu Dhabi, that isn't government backed. I'm going to jump on a little soapbox that I have, which is just an industry group. I think UAE, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi needs an industry group. It needs having come from Asia before I moved here, a kind of an APRIA type of thing, where you have industry, rather than doing this once in a while, we meet very regularly, we talk about those issues, we talk about how we fix those issues, and out of that comes what you described, David, as a best practice guideline. And the existence of a best practice guideline will then inform investors coming into the market new that there is a body of people who are invested in this market in different stakeholder functions that have put this together and think very strongly about how that market should work. And that's not government regulation. That's an entirely separate thing. Government regulation is not to protect, well-informed investors. Government regulation is to protect, I won't say the little guy, but regular guy. And to the extent what RERA has done, and that's not because Marwan is here, but what RERA have done over the last 4 years, I think if anybody come to Dubai 6 years ago would have thought that was unthinkable. It's been phenomenal in terms of the protection of the buyer and the tenant. So yeah, from my point of view, it's asking the question, what do you want? What do you want your market to be? To whom do you want it to be attractive, and why do you want it to be attractive? And in terms of sustainability, for how long do you want that to be the case? And they're the things that I think that we should be tending towards and moving towards, in addition to the other comments about the quality of asset classes and all that. That will drive that. People will gravitate towards high quality assets. They will gravitate, when there's capital chasing yield, it will gravitate towards best-in-class assets, best-in-class performers, best-in-class developers and investment companies. That is how a market matures, and it goes through its cycles and it matures, but it matures.
Fergal, thank you very much, and I'd be interested to hear further from you when we come to the Q&A session. I'd now like to ask Marwan to speak about his key objectives as the CEO of RERA, and as most of you will know, RERA, perhaps more than any other agency, has been responsible for super fast-tracking the development of Dubai as a reasonably sophisticated real estate market. If you look at what has been achieved in Dubai itself in the last 30 or 40 years, but by RERA in the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, it really is quite fantastic, and it's RERA that has helped give the market a degree of structure, which is really important in my view if the market is going to be sustainable and attractive to international players. So, Marwan, let us have your thoughts on the next steps for RERA and your priorities.
Thanks, Alan. But it's not fair that everybody speak as he wishes, except me. But let me say whatever I want, then I will answer any question. First of all, guys, I want to start with you my brief talk about the story in 99. In 99, I was in my office in land department, and a European investor